Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I bring you compilations from my previous season's podcast in season 6, 7, and 8 in an episode compilation made up of 4 podcasts, clips, called the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls, episode 57. And as this is episode 57, the title of this show is Wanted, Dead, or Alive? Why we should stop listening to critics who falsely pronounce the death of Bitcoin and focus instead on building an open, collaborative, better society. This podcast calls upon clips from 4 podcasts, 3 from season 8, 1 from season 7. The 2 from season 8 were early season 8 episodes before I transitioned to video. The last one is a video clip. The people I spoke to on this podcast are all amazing. The first is Bunny. I spoke to him in September 2024. Bunny is the co-founder and CEO of DORA. We talked about how to unify and enhance accessibility of blockchain data across various networks. The second person I had the wonderful opportunity talking to was Alison Haire. She's the CEO and founder of Lilypad, and that was in season 7. That was in June 2024, and we talked about how to build an open, serverless, and permissionless compute network that drives positive change for the global society. Third was my conversation with CEO and founder of Irys, Josh Benaron, in September 2024. We talked about building the world's first layer 1 programmable data chain. And then the video podcast to close it off was from February 2025. I spoke with the managing director of the Impossible Cloud Network, Sebastian Pfeiffer, and we talked about building the Web3 generation of Amazon Web Services through cloud service providers. Each of these podcasts are available in their entirety on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, on the Crypto Hipster station. Check them out. If any part of these clips tickle your fancy, you like them all, you want to find out more, please check out my podcast, and then, I hope you enjoy this compilation. Again, this is episode 57, entitled Wanted, Dead, or Alive? Why we should stop listening to critics who falsely pronounce the death of Bitcoin and focus instead on building an open, collaborative, better society. Thank you for tuning in. This was episode 57, on our way to 67 total for the Crypto Hipsters Curtain Calls. Check it out. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you for the next show. Isn't that difficult to make sure that you assure people that their intent is fulfilled? What are some of the risks involved with that? Like, I only heard of intents like last month, or 2 months ago, for the first time. So, what are some of the risks involved in that? And especially like if you're a platform like yours where the user doesn't achieve the intent they were looking to do, how do you mitigate that, or how do you help them?
I think so this is where it actually becomes a much more collaborative problem. Right now at DORA, we focus on contextualizing on-chain data and then creating a very accessible user profile for people to see that every single action that they engage on was fulfilled. And so then from that standpoint, that is one subset of the problem. The other subset of the problem is how can we call them interoperability providers, right? People that are able to enable one chain to speak to another chain. These providers are the ones that focus a lot on how to provide good interfaces of, this is the action that you want to engage on. This is the little label that we give you to say that it was fulfilled, right? So the way that we collaborate with them is that whenever we integrate a new chain and we want to let people not only look at this chain's data, but also start accessing these chain goods and services, we tell them, hey, can you help us integrate this chain? They integrate it from their end, and that's about it. The major risks, I'd say, from our side is that the more complex the action gets, the more hard it is to figure out what was supposed to happen. So you lose a little bit of visibility on the transaction if you want to dissect the transactions. However, a very easy way to know, okay, what was supposed to happen is to actually see the balance change on your account, right? If you want to buy a bottle of water, and then this purchase gets routed through 5 different sub-providers that all gave a confirmation and all executed different transactions so that you were able to such that a vendor was able to give you back that bottle. That gets immensely complicated. We focus on at least having really good reassurance that, hey, now you have a bottle of water on your account, right? Like that is the easiest way to confirm what actually happened.
Got it. I want to get into interoperability in a moment. I do.
Yeah, for sure.
I do have a concern, and so everybody right now is working on the user experience. They want the way to bring the masses back into crypto. Retail everybody is where you said earlier they don't have to know Solidity, right? They don't have to know coding at all. Okay, say they don't, and you guys achieve what your mission is, and that's good. There are the blockchains that come out with increasing complexity, right? So if you're a user and you don't understand what's going on, and there's increasing complexity, what's the risk there of people not understanding but putting their money up and then not like with the intents or whatever, not having their money in their hands anymore and losing it all because of the growing complexities in the back end.
So I was actually having this discussion with a few people earlier today. I think that there's a really good compromise in which more deep infrastructure focused blockchain developers can ensure that there's safety around every single one of these chains that gets deployed. How safety is also an spectrum, of course, and the easiest way to assure safety is that you're able to guarantee to a user that even if a new chain pops up and you put money in, your money won't go away. That we have a proof that you had money on that chain and we're able to somehow recover the funds, even if the chain dies, right? So being able to work on these security assurances, provide greater increase of speed of being able to go between different chains and also do it in a manner that feels intuitive for the user. I think that is where a lot of our industry is also focusing on, right? We all are trying to improve the user experience to very little security detriment of them all.
You don't need to be elegant. No one needs to be elegant. Direct and honest. That works well. So thank you.
Thanks, Jamil.
Yeah. And the next answer, if you answer honestly, it'd probably be the U.S. government. But this is my question: what are the forces at play that could disrupt the rapid evolution of AI and hamper its growth trajectory? Besides the U.S.
Besides the US. No, look, I think that's it's not just the US government either. I think this is a bit of a delicate subject as well, but I think if you look around in general, we're at a place in history and in society where it's really important that we build systems that don't allow exploitation. I think if we look back at the last 100 years of how we have grown, we've kind of moved off the path of where those ideals started. And we need systems which we can develop in technology, and which is one of the reasons that I was so attracted to the crypto and Web3 space in the first place. We have this technology that we can codify these rules into and make it fairer. Now, I think this applies really importantly to, this was one of the original missions of Filecoin, right? To make sure data is accessible, to make sure folks have sovereignty. And now I think it's really, really important to do with AI as well. Open source AI, we can't have corporations owning the AI breakthroughs. We can't have governments owning AI breakthroughs. This should be owned by the people, and the direction we want to take with it should also be something that the people have, the power to help direct. So to speak. We should be deciding if the rails of ChatGPT, for example, are okay or not. Or perhaps there's different communities that decide different parts of those rails are applicable to them and want to run that way. And this is what a distributed system can do. You can say, as a hardware provider, that these are my values and I only want to run jobs that match those values. So that's what I'll do. And then you have these natural kind of villages that spring up around that and developments. But going back to the overall picture of AI development, and I think this is something that another one of my advisors really elegantly explains as well. His name's Peter Wang. He's the founder and CEO of Anaconda. If you get a chance, check out his videos around community AI. Because he just has a way of taking you on this journey that really slaps you in the face, basically, of, hey, the AI is super powerful and we all need to have a say in how AI works. We all need to be able to access the code to check the security of it. We all need to be able to access the code, to do things, to decide which way we want to go with it. And apart from that as well, as individuals, we often have subject matter expertise that big corporations don't. For example, someone on our team, our head of research, actually, Stanley Bishop, is involved really heavily in rare disease research. And he is looking at systems like Lilypad to solve some of these rare disease problems and to enable universities to cooperate and collaborate with their data without keeping it private, but enabling models to be made together so you can really accelerate the speed to a solution for some of these problems. And that's true of even small things in society as well. So if you only have access to closed AI models, then people can't do that. We can't accelerate these solutions. And this is what technology is for. Technology is a tool to help bring our society to a better place, in my opinion. And one of the reasons I went into it, and if we look back, like things like the printing press, things like the IBM computer, these things have really, things like, washing machines, these things have fundamentally changed how we set up as a society. Can't imagine going through COVID without the internet, for example. What would we have done? This is what technology does. It fundamentally changes how our society operates. So it's really important, if you care about that, to be a part of, pushing forward the parts of it that you want to see exist. And that's what we're here for. So that was a bit of a wild answer, but hopefully it took you on a little bit of a journey of what we believe in there.
You say that you are deep in the trenches, right? What does it mean to be deep in the trenches, and why is it important to have your community in the trenches with you?
Yeah, deep in the trenches is a nice kind of play on words that our team came up with. But it's an initiative to kind of shed more light on the deep in space. My view on deep in is that it is one of the biggest revenue drivers outside of DeFi, but also one of the most underhyped. Seemingly, the world finds it very boring side of the space for whatever reason, and that just makes no sense to me. So I'm a very kind of big advocate for DeepIn. I think it is one of the only categories outside of DeFi that have massive product market fit. To be honest, when you look at Helium, etc., these guys are actually getting exponential adoption at this point, exponential growth adoption. So yeah, one of it is it's kind of a community initiative to shed more light on a lot of these DeepIn networks, and we have a bunch of the DeepIn networks actually in that community. It's a Twitter X community. And we'll be kind of going a little bit deeper on that over time. But I think to speak a little bit more broadly about community more generally, it is one of the most important things in Web3. You do need a great product, a great network, whatever, and you do need to have very good kind of business team, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't have a good community, then the sad reality within crypto is that you're always going to be you're going to be quite a few steps behind. So the goal is how can we actually support a lot of these how can we build a strong community, especially around categories that we think are actually important to the space. And DeepIn is one of those.
So I always thought, I forgot who told me this a few years ago. I said, things that work don't need to be hyped. They just work, And I think of DeepIn in that way. And I think the opposite of that is meme coins that don't work, but they're good for hype, and the community seems to be really robust around meme coins. How do you attract, smart investors, smart users, people who understand the tech into using DeepIn and growing that from there?
Yeah, so I think DeepIn actually has a bunch of hype from a bunch of investment now from VCs, definitely more in the last 12 months. There are a bunch of DeepIn specific funds as well. There's one on our cap table actually called EB3, who we have good kind of relationships with as well. And actually, I can name a bunch of funds now that are very heavy in DeepIn. I think Multicoin was one of the early seeds, and yes, Solana, but also Helium and some of these other kind of big networks. So I think the investor side is less of an issue. I think on the retail side, it's kind of hard to point out why there's no hype. I suspect it's because it might be like a founder. Actually, I don't want to call people out. It might be like a founder archetype thing where maybe they're very good at the demand side, but perhaps don't understand the token Web3 game. I don't know if that's actually true because Helium raised a bunch of money and the token did fairly well in previous markets. But I think when I meet a lot of people who are in the DeepIn space right now, they are absolute like geniuses on building the network and actually bootstrapping demand, which is, by the way, the two hardest things. And then the third perhaps is kind of attracting retail is broadly a macro thing and broadly a marketing problem. And it's just a very different skill set. So maybe that's why there's less hype, but we're super bullish DeepIn simply because the fundamentals are so strong. It's literally impossible to ignore. If a protocol goes from $0 to $1 million of revenue within a year or two, that's literally better than 99.999% of any protocols that existed, in the last decade, right? So yeah, that's kind of how I look at DeepIn.
I like that word trust. I used to have different wallets. One was a BRD wallet, they're not around anymore. And I would ask for an annual transaction record, and the annual transaction record would come from Amazon. I thought we were decentralized. Why is it coming from Amazon? And you talk about getting more Web2 people onto Web3, and you talk about trust, right? And how do you get them? What's the future of the cloud computing and DeepIn to create trust and have people trust Web3 so that we can have that global adoption that you're seeking?
Right. So I'm not sure meme coins will help here. While they're popular now, I think that why do people why are people excited about this, right? At the end of the day, it's a way to make money. Yeah, let's face it. So what I think Deepin offers is a combination with actual use cases in an industry that is growing at a tremendous speed, right? So will somebody be paying you more money in the future for what you have right now in terms of meme coin? Might keep going. I don't know. Nobody knows. But what I can tell you is that the internet and infrastructure needs are not going anywhere. Yeah. So that's what I think it's a bit underrated in the sense that people have this realization of the potential of Deepin, but they haven't fully grasped what it's capable of, especially on the cloud side, right? So architecturally, yes, the internet might change one or the other angle, but the infrastructure need will always be there, right? And fair enough, not all Deepin projects have a working business model, but I think we have found that angle, right? I mentioned the revenue figure already. I think just the vision is so attractive. Maybe a deep dive on AI, right? I mean, probably talk a lot about AI these days. Everybody does. So it is, let's face it, a more and more powerful tool that enables us to do certain things. Yeah? And this demand will rather keep growing than dying down, probably. And therefore, there will always be a hunger, an appetite for more and more power, right? I mentioned AWS already. They mentioned they won't be able to match the AI demand because of the demand for power in the data centers that the grid simply is not able to accommodate, right? And Shamat, I think, I'm not sure you might pronounce that name, he mentioned in one of his tweets that if you have GPUs lying around, Deepin is not a bad idea, right? I think all of these things hint that the cloud and what we built here has so much potential that it's going to be able to facilitate that future demand, right? So hyperscalers are investing billions. They can't face the demand. Deepin has the superpower with Web3 to answer this challenge and mobilize huge amounts of global infrastructure for this open competitive market. So that's where I see maybe what I'm trying to portray here is an optimistic future for Deepin and computing, because it's not going to go anywhere, right? It's going to be there for the foreseeable future, and I think it's really exciting what the next couple of months, years hold for us.